Okay, today I'm very happy to have Jeffrey with Roam here, and to talk to our consumers in Taiwan.
Yeah,
How are
thanks
you,
for having
Jeffrey?
me. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Coming to you from Vancouver, Canada, where the
Vancouver.
core team is based.
Okay, cool. All right, and basically we wanted to ask.
Yeah, for sure. So the genesis of the project was actually over 3 years ago. My co-founder Yen and I had previously been working together in the Web3 space on some Bitcoin mining operations, etc. But his background was actually about a decade in telco and in the wireless realms. So he understood some of the challenges that the Wi-Fi industry and the telco industry were facing as the transition from 3G to 4G to 5G small cell deployment, and how basically Wi-Fi was starting to be seen as a potential offloading vehicle for cellular traffic, as well as a goal by the WBA, the Wireless Broadband Association, to build out a globally seamless roaming-like network between its members. So these were some overall goals of these organizations, and the technology it's built on is based on what's called Passpoint, which is a part of Open Roaming. That was open source and released to the WBA in 2021. So that's really what's started our ability to look at this project. And then on the other side of it, we had the bull market of 2021. You had the helium sort of bubble and community momentum explosion, and it just showed you that if you do align incentives, you can build out this very robust global deep decentralized DPIN network, which we call it today. And so we really looked at that what was happening with helium as motivation and an inspiration, and thought, could we take that type of energy with a Web3 toolkit and apply it to these Wi-Fi challenges? So that was the original genesis of the idea about 3 years ago. It's come a long way since. We started off, the project was originally called MetaBlock, so maybe some of your listeners have heard about it earlier. But we rebranded to Roam earlier this year, and we've seen just tremendous growth in the last 8 months or so.
Great.
For sure. So when I said bubble too, obviously the price of the network got way beyond the underlying metrics, which we all realize.
Right.
But the supply side is what was really impressive to us, the build out of an actual network globally. And when we look at what we're doing with Wi-Fi, we truly do feel like we're solving a much more tangible, real problem. Wi-Fi today handles 75% of internet traffic for the average user. It is it's like water and air and survival for most people. So it's just embedded in our culture and our work today. Yet if I go to a cafe or to a public space, it's a constant problem of having to get the access, log in, get in securely, deal with that. And the fact that isn't really a seamless experience today, even though the technology exists to make it a seamless experience, is surprising in 2024. So there's over 500 or 600 million public Wi-Fi hotspots in the world, and there's virtually none of them that you can roam from each to each hotspot. And so we do see this as solving a fairly large problem. Obviously, this is a bit more of a convenience play for the average user, but it's also about security. So this is all built on top of Passpoint and enterprise-grade security. So you have the latest certificate-based encryption that's much better than any sort of password or captive portal that you're going to see at a public location. So that's a part of it as well. And then, the future opportunity of it is, as this network grows, a key part of our project is the fact that we are an official member of Open Roaming with the WBA. So what that means is that we are an official ID provider that our users can roam on the other partner Open Roaming networks globally. So there's 3.5 million hotspots around the world that are in the Open Roaming network and growing. We are today around 400,000 nodes total. And so as we grow, what we want to do is play that, decentralized partner to the WBA for Open Roaming. So it's just like anything, as the network grows, it has better network effects and more value to the user. And then ultimately, long term, if that network is robust enough, there's a lot of other opportunities to, like I said from the start, backhaul data for telcos, etc. So we really do believe this is solving, a true problem that's an everyday problem. And, even though we're a Web3 project, and Web3 has pretty crazy cycles, as everybody knows, it's not like this problem is going to disappear in a bear market. People still use Wi-Fi. People still want to connect to the internet. So we hope that leads to a longer term sustainable token performance, and so value accrual, you could say, to the token.
I see. Okay.
And you do. Obviously, we're going to reward those members of our community that help us grow and deploy our hardware in the field. Our hardware right now is really almost essentially a proof of concept. It's a very high quality, just as good router as you could buy at Best Buy or anywhere else. But for us, the long-term play is to actually license our firmware to other manufacturers for a lot larger distribution. So the miners we're putting up today are a lot lower numbers than in the future. So that will ramp up. The community node aspect was actually a very, very critical part of our growth strategy. So essentially, whenever you build anything, it's a marketplace with two sides. You have to add value. You need to have access points for users to get value, and you need to have users for people to put access points in. So how are you going to kind of break this growth dilemma? And so by offering the ability for people to upload the community nodes or public hotspots that they find in the wild, that just gave an easy entry point for an average user to download our app, go out into the field, add value to the community, get rewarded for it in points, and be a part of the process. For us, what's really interesting is not only does this give us, some early high growth coverage, but we're also capturing a lot of data as far as what are the most popular Wi-Fi routers, hardware and firmware out there in our network. And a part of the strategy for us is once we identify what the top models are, in the near future, we could actually release open WRT-based firmware updates with our protocol on it that people could then could flash onto their hardware and then upgrade their existing hardware at home to Roam capable open roaming. So that's another strategy in the future, is not only sell our own hardware, and then also license to other manufacturers to sell, but also release open WRT firmware upgrades for the most popular models.
And that's really smart. Okay. All right. And well, now the next question, do we already know how many points to become a token, or is that still up in the air? And when is the token going to be able to public trade? I mean, that's a very important question to the community, and obviously why.
Yeah, for sure. No. I've been in crypto for 8-9 years, so I definitely understand the community, and we hear them. We understand that we've delayed our token launch a few times. I really honestly believe it's good for the community long term, and we are long-term founders. So so the TGE is coming this fall. I think we're lining up the timing really well with the broader market, in my opinion. The other very big key points, and this is also good for the community, is that we are working our hardest to align, the biggest and best exchange partners possible, market makers, everyone else that goes into a really successful token launch. And without kind of aligning all those things and getting it done right, then we kind of lose that opportunity. You only get the TGE once, and we just want to make sure that it has the best shot to success, and has a sustainable launch. So those pieces are moving. I just got off a call earlier today with some great news. So look for some announcements from us coming soon about that. But yeah, you also so the points themselves that you collect today will there will be a defined process of how to convert those points into tokens. We have a design for how that's going to work. We're just figuring out the last little details of it. So we will release news about exactly how that works in the process. But yeah, there will be a pool system that you can put your points in and then redeem tokens. And that will launch, almost immediately after the TGE. So within a few days, we'll have our TGE, we'll have our token pools, we'll have our central exchange listings. We'll probably have DEX liquidity pools set up. So it'll be a really, really wild few days.
Okay, and you say this is going to be in fall, so it's coming up. It's getting really close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
We're getting everything together.
And right before the TGE, I mean, is there going to be? Because obviously our question, the community is, when should I buy this? Okay, should I buy it now or after the TGE, or what's your suggestion? What do you think? I mean, is there an advantage to be the early investor on this?
Well, I definitely can't give anybody financial advice of any sort. But obviously right now it's less competitive the smaller our network is, to earn the relative amount of points right now. So yeah, our community, all I can say is our community is really taking up the challenge. We actually had yesterday our 10 millionth check-in process, which was pretty crazy to think about. So that's a super important thing in DePIN, where obviously the DePIN or any sort of crypto network like this is prone to folks trying to game it or cheat. So having a verification system, validation system that this hardware exists in the field, is online, is of a certain quality, and is in the location that they say it's in, is what our check-in process does. So that's a very important sort of two-way process between the user or the validator and the miner. And yeah, we had our 10 millionth check-in yesterday. So it's very cool.
Great. Well, I don't know if you can talk about this, but I have to ask this. I mean, when people purchase this unit, do you know how long it's gonna take it for them to make the money back? Can you talk about it?
I can't give an answer to that because I don't know. There's no price on the points or token right now. So right. I think it'll be as soon as we are in market and there's a price on the token, it'll be a very, very simple calculation to think about there. But the one advantage I'll just say is that we have, being built on top of Wi-Fi, our hardware and or our partners' hardware is just off the assembly line. Standard Wi-Fi routers, like 500 million a year they make and growing. So the supply chains are extremely robust and price competitive. So I just remember when Helium was in its prime, your ability to even get your hands on a Bobcat miner was like $800 and you had to wait months to receive it if you did. Yep. So we just have that advantage that we're going to be able to scale a lot quicker. And offer, routers from ourselves and from our partners at much lower price points. That hopefully leads to a much quicker payback. And it's a piece of hardware that you're actually going to use every day yourself, which is a unique thing too. So the like I said, like we look to Helium for inspiration. Unfortunately, the LoRa network, like the demand side, just never really came. But it's still amazing what they built on the supply side. So sometimes I always wonder, like, what if Helium had started on Wi-Fi, 6, 7 years ago? What would it be today? And in my opinion, it would be probably in almost every cafe and little business around me here in Vancouver would be a Helium Wi-Fi spot. So that's kind of the mindset we have.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions we have for you today, Jeffrey. And thank you very much for the interview.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. And I just encourage anybody in your community, check us out at weroam.xyz. Our app is in both app stores. You can order our router from our store. Just let us know what you think. Any feedback or advice on how to improve anything we're building, we much appreciate it. So thank you to you and your community.
All right. Thank you, Jeffrey.